Hello, everyone. Welcome to 11 Minutes to Health. My name is Dr. Greg Benkin, and tonight we're going to talk about mitigating the effects of stress that it may have on your life and how we should learn how to relax on a path towards true health and wellness. Just a little disclaimer, if you're dealing with someone who is stressed, don't tell them to relax. That's probably the worst thing you can tell them. It's like adding gasoline to a fire. So what kind of stress is there, though? There are three different types or forms of stress that we know of. One is function. We look at our diet. A few weeks ago, we talked about what gluten may do to your body. So that's stressing your body out. There's also the structural, meaning if we incur some type of injury, if we incur some type of pain or disability, that's stress on our lives too. But the third form that many of us don't really think about, even though it's there, we know it is, it's the psychological stress, the stress that our brain is going under. So what is stress? Well, stress is this. It's the reaction that your own body has to a threat, a challenge, whether it's physical or psychological barrier. So again, it's a reaction. We can't avoid it. This is our own body doing this. So what is stress ultimately? Stress is ultimately a strain. It's that constant, consistent strain that is on our lives that's affecting, again, our function, our structure, and also our mind or our brain. And I always let people know, if you can't have a healthy mind, you can't have a healthy anything. So that's why tonight's topic is super important. So where can stress come from? It's bombarding us all day, every day. In many cases, especially when we look at relationships, it's stress within our own family, our friends. Maybe it is a new relationship, or maybe it's a relationship that's ready to break off. For some individuals, it's that confrontation. It is very stressful that they just don't want to have that type of conversation. So they start to get these symptoms that I'm going to get to in a little bit. But for some people, it's the stress at work. It's, hey, are you hitting these deadlines? Are you meeting the expectations that you think your employer has set for you or that you have set for yourself? But for a number of individuals too, there's always stress that comes with finances. So we'll talk about it later, but ultimately, these are a number of stress sources that our body goes through. And we always talk about, again, we can't avoid this. This is just a part of life. But how does our body respond? So again, it is automatic. This is a reactionary response that your body has. So your brain's autonomic or automatic function will stimulate adrenaline. So we know adrenaline is it gets the heart rate up, it gets us pumping, it does all this stuff. It makes us feel like a superhero. So that's exactly what happens to your body under stress, the immediate response. So part of this, though, is it releases a hormone called cortisol, and that's a stress-based hormone. So the signs and symptoms I want you to look out for if you're in that stressed position and it's immediate is look for that increased heart rate. You're also going to feel warm. So that means that's blood flow going to your arms and to your legs. I also want you to look out for the digestive issue starts to slow down, but also that you feel hyper alert, meaning your pupils start to dilate and you get this tunnel vision feeling. So again, this is an automatic response. This lets you know that your body is stressed right now in the moment. So it's definitely this is natural, let it happen. But the thing I want to talk about is when it becomes chronic. Our body does not like chronic inflammation. It does not like anything where we have hormones sitting at high levels. Because at that point, that's when our body starts to break down and we start noticing symptoms that go beyond what we think is just stress. So this is where we start feeling aches and pains. This is where individuals, especially as you start to get older, you're afraid you're having a heart attack, you're having chest pain. And what does your doctor usually say? Oh, you're stressed. So there is no test that we have. Again, there's no lab test that we can do. There's nothing that says, hey, here's your lab values. Yeah, you're stressed. This is just something that we look and we perceive just an individual, just look at their body. We look at what their lives are like, and we look at what your symptoms are, and we attribute many things to stress. But it's really how do we treat it, or how do we mitigate that stress's effects on the body? A few other things I always let people know is stress comes in different ways, but ultimately, if you're experiencing anxiety or depression, again, that's a chronic problem. Individuals who are trying to have kids, and again, we're talking about stress and strain. If you're trying to have kids, how much pressure is it If you're the woman, you're supposed to say, yeah, I'm supposed to be carrying this baby, but things aren't sticking, they're not holding, we're having issues. That's a lot of stress on the woman trying to just have and carry a child. But what about the stress that creates in that relationship? What about the husband or the partner who's also contributing to this as well? So when I work with individuals that are having issues with trying to just get pregnant, I want to see both of them, because ultimately we're looking at the stress in individuals' lives and how can we actually mitigate these effects. But a number of things that we have noticed over the last year is the unhealthy releases that people are choosing to do. So when stress really builds up, everyone kind of has their own little thing of what they would like to do as far as releasing their stress. But absolutely, there is what we call unhealthy releases. So this is where we've noticed more people, they were drinking more relapses for alcoholism, more relapses for drug abuse in this last year. So ultimately, we know that stress, we can't avoid it, but we have to find healthy ways in order to mitigate its effects on our bodies and on our relationships and on our minds. So that's why we need to take proactive measures. So there's 8 dimensions to a wellness, and it's always every single aspect has its own stress response. So as a chiropractor, I love to look at individual holistically. I want to see all aspects of their life. I want to see them succeed at all aspects of their life. We know through chiropractic care that we can actually help relieve stress, but ultimately we need the individual to be proactive. So we also encourage them to get massage. Massage is great and fantastic for just relaxing your mind and relaxing your body, but also to exercise. Exercise has a number of unbelievable benefits, and we encourage individuals to get out and be active and move their body. Also, performing some type of self-care, whether that is, doing a diary, or that's reading a book, or maybe that is pampering yourself, something that's able to do as far as how to have yourself have that stress release. But ultimately, it's carrying that positive attitude and outlook that we want individuals to have. So we always encourage them to just look on the positive things of life. And just like when we talk about exercise, of having be consistent with it, be positive and be consistent with that when you're thinking about the good things and the blessings you have in your life. But ultimately, let people know, if you're overwhelmed, please seek out professional help from a counselor. Everyone has their Dr. Phil moments. I talk with hairstylists, they have it. I talk with massage therapists, they have it too. I talk with other chiropractors, but ultimately, we want to make sure that we're recognizing individuals who this is their job. This is what they're good at. So if you ever feel overwhelmed in any situation, please seek out professional help and seek out a counselor. So how can you lead a healthier life today? Again, we can't control everything. We can only mitigate the strain that's and the strain that stress has on your life. So I encourage individuals this, especially as it's getting nicer out, walk 20 to 30 minutes outside. Do it during lunch, do it in the early evening, and go with your spouse, a friend, or just by yourself. Try and make it a daily habit, or at least 3 times a week, and just get out there. And during that time, practice some gratitude, count your blessings. So why is this important? I could talk about this for another hour. This is actually the topic that got me into chiropractic care, because there's certain points of stress that we can talk about as far as injury, that we can talk about with diet, but ultimately it's the stress that the brain and nervous system goes under. That reason that when I was getting my master's, I gave a speech on this, and then I called the chiropractic college 3 hours later, and I got accepted that next day, because it was such a passionate part of what it is and why it is that I love what I do. It's taking an individual and looking at them holistically and helping them through the course or path of life. So again, it's all about the autonomic nervous system. It's a reaction. You can't stop it. You can't slow it down, but we can help mitigate its response, because again, we see a number of individuals, chronic stress is not good. That's where we see issues with blood pressure, which what do? We give someone blood pressure medication. How about we just manage and look at what's causing the stress and blood pressure going up? We also look at digestive issues. That's very common, constipation and diarrhea. And also performance in the bedroom. That's another huge factor as well. So it's definitely be active. And if you know an individual, we're doing free consults right now. Let's just find out what's going on with your nervous system, what's going on with your brain and your spine's health. But ultimately, take a moment and relax, and know that although we can't avoid stress, we know we can mitigate it by being proactive. So I want to thank Two sponsors tonight. Number one, thank you to Lucretia Payne Owens from Mary Kay. We're going to give away 2 at-home facials. Again, a nice little self-care, a night to relax, maybe with that special someone. And we also want to say thank you to Terry Trask with Hands-On Healing Massage. She has donated a 30-minute massage for tonight. So if you've entered the chat and you haven't registered yet, please, I put it back up there. Please register so that way, did a screen grab. I know everyone who's on. So if you want to win one of these things, please make sure that you have registered, and we'll announce it tomorrow, the winners on Facebook Live. But ultimately, we are conveniently located in Maple Grove. If you want to see more of our content, please connect with us on Facebook, Instagram. We have an awesome blog where I write every single week a blog health topic. So if you're learning for a little more health tips, please look at our blog. But ultimately, if you have any questions, please email me, and my email is in the bottom there. And if you're looking for a consult, you want to start somewhere, give my office a call, 763-432-3932. This is your 11 Minutes to Health. We have one more. I'll see you next week. Have a great week, everyone.